Hey guys, welcome back to the Backhand Podcast. This is the purple pill of our segment where we talk about world news or anything that's happening around the world that we want to be able to discuss. Maybe give you a little bit of Christian perspective behind it. I'm your host, Adam Vilches, and this is my co-host, John Hunt.
Howdy.
John, last week we talked about some stuff about Peru, and I just want to tell you something really funny about it, actually.
Oh, let's go.
So, my grandparents just flew in.
Oh, yeah.
And they were telling us that some people that were part of this National Geographic tour went to the Galapagos Islands, which is where they did where Darwin did evolution and everything.
Bet.
And part of their tour was supposed to go to Machu Picchu, but they couldn't go because of all the riots that's happening down there.
Oh, jeez.
Guess how much they paid to do this entire tour thing? Take a wild guess how much.
$10.
$12,000.
Oh my gosh, $12,000.
So they lost out because they couldn't go.
They paid $12,000 to go to Machu Picchu.
To go Galapagos Island, do that thing,
Yeah.
and then go to Peru and go to Machu Picchu. 12,000
Why would they spend that much?
for National Geographic.
Oh, for National Geographic.
Like a tour with them.
Oh, but they had to pay?
Mm-hmm.
Why?
I don't know, bro, but it sucks.
I mean, it's kind of cool, but that just seems like a lot of money.
It is a lot of money. I would not be. I don't think I'd be able to pay that much money for anything. The one thing that I would love to do for Machu Picchu, and I don't care how much money I would pay for it. I would care, but I'm just saying hypothetically, is the Inca Trail, where you can do it by foot. It's a 7-week hike.
Dang.
It's not 7 week, 7-day hike.
Yeah.
From Cusco to Machu Picchu.
Okay.
It's really cool.
Let's go. We should do it in 3 days.
3 days.
Yeah. You know how everybody's slow when we're going hiking?
That's actual facts. Every time John and I go hiking, people are really slow.
Bro, we'll be running up the 14ers, and people are like, "Slow down, you're gonna get hurt." We're like, "You're not my dad."
Yeah, I don't like. I enjoy taking in the scenery as we go hiking and everything, but also like to
Make it fun.
yeah, we're doing something.
Yeah.
This is exercise.
Yeah.
Let's
I
go.
need to exercise. I just ate 4 bean and beef burritos.
So something that we're going to be covering. We're covering 2 different things. We're talking about the Syrian regime.
The cereal regime.
Becoming one of the biggest drug dealers in the world over
Yes.
the cartel. And then we're also going to be talking about the FBI releasing public safety alert over rising child online sex rotation. We'll get into that a little bit more. So for the Syrian regime, they're becoming one of the biggest drug dealers. Can you guess what kind of drug they're becoming?
Oranges. No, I did read that article. It's like an off-brand speed.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
They call it Cambrine, right?
Yeah.
And the street name's 2 Moons.
Yeah, 2 Moons. So they have crescent moons on the drug. So the street name is called the 2 Moons. So it's really interesting that a Middle Eastern country is becoming such a big deal, but the drug that they're using is speed drugs.
Yeah.
So when I read that kind of piqued my interest just a little bit,
Why's that?
Because so as a Hispanic, we've been dealing with a lot of the cartel activity down south. And some people are like, down south. Some people are like, it's just in Mexico. Is it just in Colombia? No, it's everywhere.
Yeah.
Right? Cocaine originated from Peru. Look it up. It's a fact.
Okay.
You don't believe that?
You say everything originated from Peru.
I know I don't. I say the things that do originate there.
Okay.
But anyways, so there's a lot of drug activity and a lot of other human trafficking that's especially big in South America. So it's interesting that the new person is coming into power when it comes to drug related activity, and a lot of times when that happens, usually it's different. Something changes in the game. So the number one drug that was being sold the most was marijuana.
Gotcha.
That was the biggest thing
In where at?
in South America,
I bet.
all in Central America. So marijuana was the biggest thing, and that was the biggest drug to sell. Then cocaine became the biggest thing, and everybody started selling cocaine. And that started wars. It was crazy, right? So I kind of try to pay attention when it comes to drugs. What is the new player in the game, right? What is causing certain things, right? Then heroin, And then, but it's interesting that this specific drug, a speed drug, is becoming the new drug that is kind of making a cartel in the Middle East even bigger, right? So that makes me wonder, number one, why? Number two, what will that do in South America and Central America and other places that are selling drugs? Like, what will cause that, and what will cause the market to shift? Because what happens is when cocaine became the new drug, right, and it became the most popular thing, and it started being sold everywhere, right? What happened was there was a whole war on drugs, right? Yeah. There was this whole governmental shift of we need to fight this kind of thing, right? And it really screwed over the American population because a lot of the drugs that were sold was primarily in America. Yeah. So this is making me wonder, not only why is this becoming a new drug, but two, how is this going to affect our populace as a whole? Our populace?
As a whole of the world or America?
I would say the world, but mostly America, since we're the number one consumer when it comes to drugs.
Well, in that article, they're saying it was going to Dubai and Saudi Arabia being their number one buyers because, of course, in first world countries and or cities, it's people get bored and they want to experience new things. So, easiest way to do that is drugs. And so, I think that's kind of the why behind it is people in Saudi Arabia, Dubai, which I think is the AEI or something like that. I don't know. But it's because of boredom and to increase productivity at work, or I think speed is basically what's it called? Adderall. Yeah. So it basically makes people hyper-focused, makes them focus in on what they're doing, and it also induces constipation, which is just interesting. Which that's what they were saying in there, at least to minimize bathroom breaks, lunch periods, and you just fixate on this one task or a multitude of things, and it gets a bunch of things done. So
technically, cocaine is a speed drug as well. Isn't that interesting? Because it does hyper focus you. Yeah. The reason why this is we're bringing this up is because in Syria they're saying that it's double, triple, potentially quadruple the scale of what the Mexicans are producing and exporting. The actual numbers of this trade are absolutely astronomical. He said in recent estimates showed that last year 5.7 billion worth of Syrian-made pills were seized abroad, and near doubling compared to the 3.5 billion worth seized in 2020. So last year they seized, not last year, 2 years ago they seized 3.5 billion, and now they're seizing 5.7 billion.
Jeez,
that's a lot of drugs. And here's the thing. This happens all the time, right? If you ever look into, if you're a type of person that's really interested in the cartel and how drugs are transported into the States, they will lose a lot of money, but they don't care.
Why?
Because a lot of times it's ploys or something like that, because they are making so much more money by going around it and everything like that. That's why a lot of times that when people say Elon Musk is the richest person in the world, I'm #doubt, Yeah. Well, I know there's other people that are far richer than he is, and they're almost untouchable, especially when it comes to stuff like this. Is if you're looking at me and telling me that they seized 5.7 billion worth of pills, 5.7, that's a lot, right? And they're still making so much more.
Dude, that's so much money.
Yeah, because right now they're valuing it. They're valuing this specific Syria industry for their drugs, the Capitajon industry. It's estimated a value of 57 billion. Oof. And the cartels are around 5 billion to 21 billion. So you're looking so that really sparks my interest, right? Why do you personally think speed is becoming such a big drug?
I do think it's because of that boredom aspect for sure, but I think it has such a versatility of uses
Mm-hmm.
for nightclubs, casinos, for people that want to create an atmosphere or even um, an addicting place to be. So like if they spike their drinks with it, like minimally of course, then it creates an addiction to go back because they feel so good while they're there, but when they leave, then they come off that high, that crash, that all that those things,
Mm-hmm.
alongside students taking it because of the either their procrastination or their being overscheduled for work and also having to work a 9 to 5 job and having to deal with family and having to have a personal life. For people in the workforce who are overworked and they need just to get by, or people who are genuinely addicted or bored or that need for addiction almost. So
It's well, the thing is, like, it's becoming, surprisingly well, not surprisingly, it's like it's popular, especially around our age when people are in college. They just pop that because they want to concentrate, because our culture in itself is at an attention deficit. We can't maintain attention to anything, so like this helps us like maintain focus, which people are like, oh, that's great, but for me it's like, no, that's bad. But because personally for myself, I'm the type of person that, like, if you need anything to help you with anything, it kind of can turn into an addiction. It can be bad.
yeah,
Like, that's why I don't like taking sleeping pills or anything like that, because I'm like, no, I'd rather not. Because if I do, I'm going to become reliant on that. And now everybody has different opinions on that, of course, naturally. But part of me is like, how far can this be taken, right?
yeah,
And it makes me wonder, like, how bad is this going to affect, especially our age range? If they are like, oh, I don't need to have attention. I feel like it's going to make our attention span go even lower, because they're like, I can just pop this pill and I'll be good. So I think that's bad.
Yeah. I mean, that's 100% what you said. I think with our need for instant gratification for our generation today, it's like we have to have it now. Like the internet, I think, mainstream that of having it instant, and then having food delivery, and then having, oh my gosh, instant entertainment through streaming services, not having to wait for our shows, or I don't know, instant popcorn.
Instant popcorn. That what a great comparison.
I know. Speed, instant popcorn.
Well,
dun, dun, dun.
Here's a question for you.
Yeah.
Have you ever been tempted to take speed drugs?
No.
Ever?
No.
Like, ever, like, where you're like, okay, I don't have any energy today, but part of me feels like if I just take this, I'll be good.
No.
No?
I mean, I drink coffee, if that's considered a speed drug, caffeine. But, I mean, that's more... Yeah, I don't know.
It's not a focus drug.
It's true.
I'll be honest. There are times I think about it.
Yeah.
And it's simply because I want to work better.
Well, like, I've wondered, I haven't been tempted, but I've wondered, like, how would I react under those circumstances of taking speed or whatever, and, like, what all could I get done? Like, but then it becomes, like, then I'm not consistently trying to develop my self-discipline, because at the end of the day, it's just a lack of self-discipline of, I can't focus because you don't want to focus or anything like that. You mentioned sleeping. I had to teach myself how to sleep. I had to make a rhythm to go to sleep, and now all I have to do is close my eyes and go to bed. Like, I know there's still some nights that I struggle and I'm just laying there like, but like in high school, dude, I used to lay in bed staring at, I slept on a bunk bed, but I was on the bottom bunk, and I just stare up at the bars. Like, I'd be in bed at like 11 and just be staring at the bars until 3 in the morning, 4, just because I couldn't go to sleep. And it was terrible. But I figured out how to just calm my mind, because that's the only thing that's what keeps you up is your mind, is because it's overthinking or whatever. You don't have those mental barriers to stop it. And so then it's like, okay, I can control my mind now. Now I can control anything I want. Within my control, of course. Mm-hmm. And so then I can produce what I want. So if I want to go to bed, I go to bed. If I want to wake up at a specific time, then I decide I'm going to wake up 8:30, go to bed, don't set an alarm. I wake up at 8:30. Mm-hmm. And it's just training your brain to do the things that you want it to do.
Mm. No, I would agree with that statement. I feel like a lot of it is self-discipline. And like something that I think both of us pride ourselves on that is the fact that we constantly try to push the envelope and push those boundaries to improve ourselves as best as we can. But I'm not going to lie. Like, this is me totally being vulnerable, especially the audience. There are moments where I'm like, I know that it would be easier, and it's not the fact that I want to do it because it's easier. That's not why. It's because I want to do better. It's because I'm pushing myself. I'm like, this would push me farther. Even though in my mind I'm like, no, it wouldn't. In fact, it would probably be worse for me and would make me lazy. But like, that thought has crossed my mind. So I feel like you kind of hit on that point of like the opposite side of the spectrum of like, don't do it because of, you have to discipline yourself. But I'm going to say the other opposite of the side of the spectrum. If you are that type of person that is like us, who wants to constantly grow as a person and improve yourself on a daily basis, don't do that. Like, I don't care how competitive you are. Don't take supplements in a way that will either ruin you or ruin your character as a person, as you are preaching to others to do well.
Yeah. Why rely on something that changes your mindset when that's not what supplements are for? Supplements are to aid your body in its functionality, not in its mind power. Mind power is all literally developing your mind. It's like any muscle. Like, now, I mean, people take like creatine or steroids or shots or anything like that, and that's essentially what drugs are for our brains. Wait, I think I said that right. I don't know, but like, steroids increase muscle mass, not necessarily in a good way, and there's later side effects, but drugs do the same thing to our brain. Is it increases dopamine, it increases serotonin, it increases whatever. I almost said oxytocin. I was like, that's not it, that's a drug. But
basically, a lot of the societal issues that we face today kind of spill over into other issues around the world. So like, what we're seeing here is a lot of issue with like, where does this stem from? It's like, oh wow, they're selling drugs. Yeah, but look at the larger picture. Why is that becoming an issue? It's the fact that our society is at an attention deficit and a lot of self-imagery, I would say. They want to be better or something like that. So something for the audience, for you guys to think about and to ask yourself is, how can I improve my attention and not be at an attention deficit? Especially our generation. We need to really work on that. Like, find a way to focus and discipline your mind in that.
Well, like, I don't know if I necessarily agree with that if you're trying to do better. In my mind, like, I've thought about it. I've come to the conclusion that if I do it, it's going to progress me backwards because it's not myself bettering myself. And so even, like, I think if you're trying to self-better yourself, like, of course, playing with your thoughts, thinking about, oh, what if I do this, da, 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 da. But if you're actually like, no, like, I think I need to do this, like, actually considering it, then I don't think you're actually, I've said actually so many times, I don't think you are genuinely trying to better yourself. I think you're just trying to escape the hardships of life.
Hardships of life build character, guys. So allow that to happen.
Or drug addictions. One or the other.
Speaking of addictions, we're also going to talk about another societal issue that is kind of being poured out into right now. So the FBI released public safety alert over rising child online exploitation. This was written by the Daily Wire by Charlotte Pins Bond. After reading this article, basically, in summary, what it's about is a lot of people, especially youngers, there's an explosion in incidents of children and teens being coerced and sending explicit images online extorted for money. Basically, people are being coerced into being able to sell their imagery to other people just for money, or like exposing themselves because they've been catfished.
Mm-hmm.
So like a girl would be like some dude disguises himself as a girl on Instagram and gets a guy to reveal himself, especially teens and children.
Mm-hmm.
So first of all, horrifying,
Yeah.
disgusting. And second of all, it's like I was thinking about it, I was like, say, what is this issue stemming from? And that one of it is like this rising problem, especially with pornography.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that's like a really touchy subject, and I know a lot of people are like, I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
Or some people on the other opposite side of the spectrum, they joke about it. They're like, yeah, bro. Who's your favorite porn star? Like, or whatever is like that. But for me, as a Christian, I'm very like hardcore on this.
Yeah.
You know, because of the rising issue of it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because one, it degrades your brain.
Yeah.
By a lot. Second, you're unawarely you are aiding in sex trafficking, whether you want to admit it or not. You are.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like, I want to know what your opinion is on this specifically.
I think, well, first of all, it makes me angry that that's happening. I read that article too, but it said as young as 10 years old. Bro, like, oh my gosh, the rage that I had for that.
Especially looking at your nephew
Mm-hmm.
and my cousin, because they're around the same age.
Yeah, he's 12.
Yeah, they're the
Or
same
what,
age.
11. Yeah.
Imagine that.
I don't want to.
I mean,
Dude,
I know, but like,
it's just I think. Okay, this brings me to the kind of a different point, but like for my kids, when I have them, it just wants me to not let them have access to technology. But
for real,
dude, and like I've thought about this a lot because our world continues to move in that direction to where you cannot function without technology, at least in a societal way, which sucks.
yeah.
So it's like, do I not allow them to learn? Or do I completely restrict everything from them?
Mm-hmm.
So, it's just, ugh. It makes me mad that it is happening and it's disgusting. And I think it does speak to a huge problem and immoral issue that we have as a nation, as a world, as a humanity.
Well, it's also like it aids into that instant gratification. You know, what happens is like a lot of times back then, in order for you to see a naked woman, right? you had to sway her, you had to swoon her, you know, like whatever. And, or then Playboy magazines came out. It's like, oh well, I got the newspaper or I have the magazine. To, you know, but now it's like you're basically having sex with as many women as you want, just by looking at it on a screen.
Yeah.
How crazy is that?
Just, well, one, the progression from trying to use your words, at least it's somewhat artistic. You have to know how to use words to get somebody to do whatever you want. To, again, instant gratification, which I think we talk about a lot. It's just...
It's just terrible.
Yeah, it takes our culture and our way of life to almost unredeemable, because everybody's addicted to the self-gratification drug.
And then people want more and more and more, and then they're like, well, this is not what I wanted. I want something else. And what happens is a lot of times that creates a lot more of like child endangerment when it comes to sexual exploitation, because it's like, well, this is not getting me gratification anymore because we're such a sex-possessed, obsessed, possessed society, and it's rough because it's like, this is not what's supposed to happen.
Yeah.
You know, and it just sucks that now it's become easier and easier and easier, and now we're starting to see evidence of how this is affecting a lot of the future generations' brains. First of all, it slows them down, degrades them, and everything like that. It makes them stupid, makes them dumb. Don't be an idiot, you know. But like,
yeah,
I get it. It's not easy. All right, I'm a dude. He's a dude. We get it.
What's up, dude?
We understand it's not easy, right? The temptation for especially guys and girls as well, because girls do too. But like, so if any guy that thinks that girls don't have that temptation, you're lying to yourself.
Yeah, and they're lying to you if they say that.
We all have that temptation in our. It's that's the sinful nature that's within ourselves. So like we get that. So how would you go about explaining to like somebody like Matthias or even myself to Josiah, how would we tell our younger generation how they should go about it? Especially, what if they are, addicted or even considering, because I know that a lot of people are exposed at a younger age.
Mm-hmm.
I was exposed at a later age. I'll be honest.
Yeah.
I was exposed first time when I was 18.
Oh, wow.
Which is like, I know that some people would be like, loser, but like
Yeah.
I'm actually happy.
Loser.
But I'm glad that it
Yeah.
did, because I couldn't imagine if I was younger, like how that would affect me. So like, how can we help other people understand how to handle this appropriately?
Okay, so where I think it all kind of stemmed from, because I think the reason why we're in this position is being ill-educated.
Mm-hmm.
I think it started with the generation before us, or even my parents' generation, to where I'll say the church, because I think that's who pushed so hard for this, for sexuality or sex to be such a looked down upon thing that nobody talks about it, nobody knows about it. You don't talk to your kids about it, you don't talk to anybody about it. It's just something you maybe have sometimes, and that's made everybody scared of it, thinks it's gross, thinks it's unnatural, and then people are consumed by these desires that they think are wrong or disgusting or sick or things that don't need to be talked about. So I think it starts out as an ill-educated issue, and so they're just like, I don't know what's happening, nobody told me anything about this, what are these things that are happening to my body and all these things, and it confuses them. I know that's what happened for me, and I didn't know anything about anything. And then when my dad finally had the birds and bees, he equated it to my dog having puppies. And I was like, okay. Like, it's terrible. It was terrible. And you know what the conversation we had right before that? The Santa Claus conversation.
Oh, the Santa Claus.
Yeah, we talked about how Saint Nick was real. He was an actual saint in wherever. But the idea of Santa Claus was just, it was fun, but it wasn't necessarily real. And then right after, boom, dog, puppies, those, the things. And I was like, okay, that tells me absolutely nothing. I kind of figured that by now.
Yeah. I was explained because my mom was a nurse. She explained it in a very scientific way. She was like, this is what, blah, 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 everything like that. And I was like, that's interesting. But I agree with you. I feel like there's a lot of ill-educated. It's like sex was created by God. It's a beautiful thing that is made for only man and wife. Husband and wife. That's it. And it should be only reserved to marriage. Now, a lot of times people make mistakes outside of marriage, and that happens quite a bit. Is that supposed to be like normal? No, it shouldn't be normal. In fact, it shouldn't be normal at all. Should it be like judged and like persecuted for? I don't think so. If anything, it should be educated about. It's like, hey, you made a mistake. You have to be better, And I'm saying this personally because also, once again, being vulnerable, I'm not a virgin. I had sex out of marriage, and I was very shameful of it, and I still am to this day. And it was my fault as a man. I should have led better in that sense. And did it have repercussions afterwards? Absolutely it did. And that's why I'm so preachy about this, is because I understand what it does. So like, I would hate for this to be normalized, especially in our youth, and it already is. So like, how do we reverse that?
Reverse the
normalization of it. That's
tough.
That's a tough question.
I do think it I think it should be brought back around to education. Not like, yes, in a scientific way, but also in an emotional way, because that is an emotional connection you're making to that person. And if you don't do it in the right context, it breeds anxiety, it breeds depression, it breeds mistrust with that person, because I believe in our souls that we know that it's supposed to be inside this covenant, that it's supposed to be inside this sacred covenant with the other person, with people, with God. And if it doesn't happen like that, then you're like, oh, well, they could leave me, or, well, these are the thoughts that you would have, or they could leave me, oh, I gave them, like, every bit of myself, and they're just going to leave me because I'm not good enough for them. When you're in the confines of marriage, you're bound to that person, both legally and spiritually, through the church, and then, well, almost spiritually, and then when the consummation of the marriage, which happens that night, which basically, this is what I believe, you have sex for the first time with your significant other, and now your souls are connected. Now you become one flesh. And I think that is very important, especially to have the night of your wedding, because it's like, we're bound legally now because you went to the courthouse. You got your names changed. You moved your bank accounts. Yada yada yada. You're one legally now. Now you did in front of everybody you know, everybody you love. Now you're one socially. Stop reading my mind. And then you, after the wedding, after the reception, you go back to wherever you're. I almost said hanging out.
Where you're hanging out.
Where you're hanging, where you're chilling, your pad, your crib, and you get it on like Marvin Gaye.
Oh, you're...
No.
Oh, stop.
No, but so you're legally, socially, and now physically and spiritually. And so I think it's so important to have have it in that order, have it done that proper way, because if you notice, the last thing is sex after you've done
everything right.
Yeah, legal, socially, and then physically and spiritually kind of happen at the same time.
And anytime, and if you ever read the Bible or anything, there's a lot of times where people fall out of that category, right? They don't do it, and there are always consequences to that thing. And one thing that my mom always told me, this is before I even had sex, was she said, God will not be mocked. He knows what you're doing, and if you feel like you can get away with it, you won't. And I was like, that's the most convicting statement I've ever heard in my life, and I feel that personally deep down. It's like, God will not be mocked. So for me, it's like, when that happened, I knew there was going to be consequences. Of course, I will ask forgiveness and everything like that, but you have to actually change, and I didn't change, and that, or led down this road, and everything was lost because of it. So for me personally, preaching to you guys specifically is like, you have to realize there are consequences to your actions, and a lot of what you think is like harmless. Oh, I'm just looking at a screen. This will affect you. You know how many times people have, it's crazy how many stories I've heard of people being arrested because of having sex with underage people and everything like that stemmed from their addiction with pornography. It is insane. So for me, looking, especially if you're that age or around our age, like, the best way to help yourself that is either get in a program that helps you get out of that addiction, or even talk to your brothers about it. I know that's super, super uncomfortable sometimes, but sometimes you gotta do it. You know? Because I've had some of my brothers, and I'll never name them. And their lives are private to their own. But they have told me and opened up about their issues and everything like that. Did I ever judge them? No. Why? Because I face them as well. So, but the best way I can help them is if they help me as well. And that's like a bonding moment that you have with your brothers. Because we're trying to fight this war together. And it's a pretty big one, too.
Yeah, no. Vulnerability breeds strength within people, within your peers, within your brothers, within your sisters, within your community. And when you're vulnerable with your people, then they trust you. And when they're vulnerable with you, you trust them. And then you have trust. I know you use that phrase on me, God will not be mocked. This punk. I messed up too. I did the deed before marriage, and it definitely bred that anxiety, that uncertainty, that constant fear of, are they going to leave me, type of thing. Now, luckily in my case, they didn't, and we changed. We grew together, and like in a kind of chaotic twist, I think it almost needed to happen for the growth that we needed to have. It pushed people towards Christianity. I've already seen the fruits of it, and so it's like it's not like, oh yeah, I'd do it again if it did that. I'm like, well, no, there's always better ways to do it. But I can see that my shame, my shortcomings was not in vain. So, but yeah, when you said that to me, I just want to punch you in the face. I was so mad at you. I was like, he's right. Yeah, it's like the dog is like, the cat did it. It's like, we don't have a cat. And then he goes, dang. It was all
out of love.
Yeah, no, I know. Like, I understood that. But it's something you don't want to hear. Especially when you're consumed in it.
No, I get that. But I like that you said that. Just because you've done it doesn't mean your story's over yet. Don't let your shame consume you to the point where you can't get out of it even more. Your story's not over. God can still use you in wondrous ways.
Dude, 100% of the time, your shortcomings are only the beginning. And it's not the beginning of bad things. It's the beginning of amazing, beautiful, awe-inspiring, God-inspired things, because you messed up. You can't bring yourself back, and how are you expected to do that? You're not. You can't.
And all it takes is you turning it to Him. You know, that's the one thing that I will say is, the moment that you give it to God, you start to realize, wow, I should have done this in the beginning.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm glad and I'm proud of you and her that you guys overcame this, and God brought you closer together, and you guys are doing fantastic at it.
You know what's so cool about it though, is like we both had that anxiety, that depression, that uneasy, that never-ending fear. But as soon as we stopped, as soon as we like had a one-on-one conversation and asked for forgiveness from the other person and God, like we did that together, because we were together now. Like when we messed up, we were together. It almost like it left immediately. It's like, yeah, we both messed up, but we're not going to leave each other.
Exactly.
Because, like, yes, we messed up. We still love each other so much. It's so cool.
Now you just guys get a ring.
Oh my gosh. If you want, Venmo me so I can go buy a ring and a wedding, because waiting sucks.
It does suck, but it's necessary.
It is necessary. Literally, it's almost like my soul's been purified again, and so I'm so excited, because it's gonna be this beautiful, pure thing again, and it's gonna be like, wow.
Absolutely.
Because you hear these testimonies from people who did wait. I know there's this one story of this older brother, and he had younger brothers as well, and like it was always told in their family that he had 3 younger brothers, I think, but it was always told that you should wait for marriage, and they lived by that. And then the older brother got married, and night of the wedding night, he threw down. But he wrote a letter to his brothers saying it was so worth it. Like, wait, because it is unlike anything you will ever experience. Because you stayed pure, because you stayed uncorrupted.
With God.
Yeah. And so it's just like, wow. And just to see testimonies like that, to where when it's done right. Like, I'm in the construction business. I've been in construction almost all my life. When you see something done wrong, you know it's wrong, like the second you look at it. But when you know it's right, bro, like tornadoes won't take it out. And it's like, wow. So it's like, it also will stand.
Absolutely. So I agree. So if you're ever struggling, always rely on your brother, guys. Just saying, and give it to God 1,000%. Because it's going to be an ongoing fight. It doesn't mean just because you yes, I confessed everything. We're good now. No, trust me. You can talk to anybody that's older, especially if you do go to church, talk to someone that older, they will testify. This fight is ongoing, and it's something that we have to discipline ourselves, especially in.
And if you don't have those people that you feel close to, reach out to us. Like, we'll keep it completely confidential. We want to make sure that you feel loved, that you're cared, that you're built up. That's the whole reason for us doing this and starting on our journey of what we're doing. And so it's like we want to pour into you to make sure that you're okay, that you feel loved, that you understand God's purpose for you. So reach out and we'll take care of you. God will take care of you.
God will take care of you.
Through us.
We're not your savior.
Or through somebody.
But we want to be able to develop a community that you feel safe where you can do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm going to pray us out. Thank you for joining us. Dear Lord, thank you for bringing us here in fellowship and worship in your name. Thank you for allowing us to have the privilege to be able to speak about you and talk about certain things about this world. The world's a very broken place, very dark, but help anybody who's facing addiction or facing that attention deficit or even an addiction to pornography or any type of sex, or maybe they are being sexually immoral with somebody that they are with and they're afraid that they're going to lose them. Allow them to realize that it is not by their strength but by your strength that they can overcome it. And allow them to turn over to them and to always rely on their community to help better themselves. In Jesus' name, amen. Thank you guys for joining us, and stay tuned for Wednesday because we're going to be talking about the World Cup, baby.
Let's
go.
go.
All right, so peace out.
Peace.
Nice. I like that one. That was
That was
good.
a good one.
That was good. You happy that you did it?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Why?